In July of 1978, a young French woman named Corinne was shot in Pont-Saint-Mazance as she was leaving a movie theatre. She managed to make a recovery, though she could not give an identification of her attacker. However, several days later, the French gendarme received a note from the attacker, claiming that Corinne knew him and he would strike again. "Corinne knows me, but she can never make that connection," the note read. "A 17-year-old girl who roams the night is a target I particularly like, and next time I will aim for the heart." The gendarme would be thrown into a loop for the next several months as more and more women were attacked and one eventually murdered. Little did they know that their search efforts were futile, as the man leading them was in fact the man they was looking for. Now at this point I just want to make something clear: the difference between the police and the gendarme. Now the gendarme is responsible for small towns and rural areas with fewer than 20,000 inhabitants, rural and suburban areas, and some smaller cities with populations ranging from 5,000 to 16,000, and they are all handled by the gendarme. The local police force handles towns much larger, but there is no real difference. Though Constable Alan Lamar was the man the gendarme was looking for, it would be months before anyone realised it. Through a movie-like series of events, simple search methods would fall by the wayside, and the most basic of details would go unchecked. It wasn't until a year after the first attack that the first clue would be noticed. Alan Lemaire was good at what he did. His training as a military man before joining the police gave him a highly honed skill set. His job as a constable gave him access to information and a certain amount of unspoken immunity. He was kept ahead of his crimes by simply getting to the scene before anybody else. To his fellow detectives, he simply appeared overzealous young constable, determined to solve crimes before his peers. In reality, he was covering them up. The car from which Corinne had been shot was reported stolen. Lamar had hidden it in a lot not far from the scene, and when he heard that the detectives were looking for it, he went back and loaded it with explosives. When the detectives found it and opened the door, it exploded, effectively ruining the life of a young police officer who had third-degree burns on his hands and face. All trace evidence was gone. He would do the same to several more vehicles he used, even in opening the door to one of them himself to make it look like he had no idea. In the months following Corinne's attack, 2 more women found themselves victims as well. Unfortunately, none of them had recognised their attacker and went on to incorrectly identify the different man in a lineup. Lemaire took this to mean that he was getting away with it, and at that point chose to escalate his crimes. In December of 1978, Alan Lemaire attacked another young woman, a 19-year-old named Yolande. She ended up dying from her wounds, officially making him a murderer. Still riding high on his previous success in staying under the radar, Lamar sent another letter to the gendarme bragging about his crimes. The note said, "Beware of the hunted and injured animal. It can become very dangerous. I have nothing to lose, and I will prove it. I am used to blood and horror, and I will make you enjoy it." Unknown to Lemaire, a group of gendarmes was collecting intel on him. Several of them had begun to notice that every time there was a new lead on the attacker, Lemaire was the first on the scene. They also noticed that the attacker's letters were written in the same style as Lemaire's police notes and nearly identical handwriting. The team quickly realised that Lemaire was also a gun enthusiast and had knowledge of the inner workings of cars, and when the team shared their findings with their superiors, an arrest warrant was drawn up immediately. The team realised that the superiors had been collecting info on Lemaire for months, also realising his enthusiasm for the case may have been something more. Upon being arrested, Lemaire attempted to fight back, but was subdued. "You did well to handcuff me," he shouted, "otherwise I'd have shot you all." A search of Alan Lemaire's apartment showed a list of names, people he intended to be his next victims. The gendarmes submitted the list and little evidence they had to the courts, which declared Lemaire legally insane and therefore not responsible for his actions. He was sentenced to life in a psychiatric asylum. However, in order for the gendarme's name not to be tainted, the department drew up papers that made it look like Alain Lamar had resigned. Unfortunately, Lamar refused to sign them, and while he's incarcerated for life and under full psychiatric watch, he remains a fully qualified gendarme.